In Module 7, you will learn about the analysis and interpretation of qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods data, as well as how to report results, conclusions, and implications. This is an overview. Details are beyond the scope of this course. Analysis, interpretation, and the research questions. Although educators frequently analyze and interpret information, the process of data analysis conducted by action researchers is a deliberate and systematic approach that leads to trustworthy, that is, dependable, and reliable, that is, credible, results. Analysis involves breaking down a whole into its parts to identify its key features, while interpretation involves providing an explanation or description of the meaning of the study. The research questions being asked and the type of data being used, such as narratives or numbers, will determine the appropriate techniques and methods for analyzing and interpreting the data. This is from Efron and Ravid. Qualitative data analysis. Organize your data for easy retrieval. This means transcribing any audio or visual recordings into text and digitizing still images and printed documents. Sort and organize the data. Read and reread the entire data to get an overall sense of the information. Annotate as needed. You can analyze the data in two ways. One way is to analyze is to use predetermined categories. Organize the data accordingly and look for themes. If predetermined categories are used for analysis, they provide a framework for organizing the data into relevant units of analysis. These categories may be derived from the research questions or from the existing literature. The second way to analyze is to use emerging categories. Emerging categories are created from scratch through the process of identifying themes, coding the themes by using short descriptive labels, and then organizing the coded themes into categories. As cited in Efron and Ravid, page 171, themes are ideas, points of view, or experiences that run through the category. During the synthesis and interpretation phase of data analysis, researchers put the parts together, examine how they relate to each other, and identify any patterns that emerge. The process of data interpretation can be broken down into 4 key steps: identifying patterns, constructing a concept map, corroborating findings with evidence from the data, and validating the accuracy and reliability of the interpretation. The written report on the analysis and interpretation section should start by explaining the analytical methods used, the various sources and perspectives considered, how the researchers handled their own biases, and the validity and reliability of the obtained findings. When presenting the findings in qualitative studies, a thematic or chronological approach may be used. Writing styles typically involve providing rich, detailed descriptions of the phenomena studied and including direct quotes from participants, key quotes, to illustrate their perspectives. Further details about qualitative data analysis are beyond the scope of this course. Qualitative data analysis tools. Take a look at some tools that you may use for qualitative analysis. You may also learn about other tools in your higher education courses as well as from other information sources. You may pause the video and then resume playing the video when you have finished reading the slide. Quantitative data analysis. In quantitative data analysis, the primary objective is to address the research questions established at the outset of the study. Studies may also be conducted to test hypotheses, with statistical tests used to determine whether the collected data supports the hypothesis or hypotheses. Unlike qualitative data analysis, Quantitative data analysis is a deductive process that begins with a general principle or premise and uses it to develop hypotheses about the expected outcomes. Analyzing numerical data can involve several steps, including coding the data, assigning labels to variables, organizing the data into categories, and using computer software or other tools to manage and analyze the data. Data can be depicted visually using graphs to describe the distribution of scores, measures of central tendencies such as mean, median, and mode, and dispersion such as range and standard deviation are often used. Correlation is a statistical method for measuring the association between multiple pairs of variables. T-tests and analysis of variance or ANOVA are statistical methods for comparing means across different groups. When analyzing study results, researchers aim to determine whether the findings are statistically significant or could have occurred by chance. The p-value is a commonly used metric to determine the statistical significance of results. In quantitative studies, the results are presented in an objective and systematic manner in the results section. The numerical results can be used to answer research questions or test hypotheses. When presenting tables, graphs, or statistical results in a narrative, it is important to explain and highlight the patterns, trends, and other results that relate to the research question or questions. Further details about quantitative data analysis are beyond the scope of this course. Quantitative data analysis tools. Take a look at some tools that you may use for quantitative analysis. You may also learn about other tools in your higher education courses, as well as from other information sources. You may pause the video and then resume playing the video when you have finished reading the slide. Mixed methods data analysis. The three mixed methods designs, embedded, two-phase, and triangulation, have different data analysis procedures based on three factors. A, whether the data are analyzed together or separately. B, how and when the qualitative and quantitative data are integrated. And C, whether the qualitative or quantitative approach takes precedence or both are equal. The embedded design is used when one type of data, qualitative or quantitative, is part of a larger action research that mainly focuses on the other type of data. Both types of data are analyzed separately with more emphasis on the primary data. The secondary data analysis is used to support the primary data analysis. In the two-phase design, the first phase consists of analyzing one type of data, qualitative or quantitative, the results of which are used to inform and guide the collection and analysis of the second type of data in the second phase. The purpose of the second phase is to expand, extend, or refine the results of the first phase. The triangulation or integrated design involves giving equal importance to both qualitative and quantitative data, which are collected and analyzed separately but simultaneously. The results from both forms of data are compared to see if they align with each other. Further details about mixed methods data analysis are beyond the scope of this course. Before you read the checklist, here's what you need to know. The conclusion section summarizes the key findings and insights derived from the data and offers an interpretation of the results. It is important to avoid making exaggerated claims. Instead, ensure that conclusions are based on the data. The discussion section of the study should address the research questions and hypotheses. It is important to offer possible explanations for cases where the results deviate from what was predicted. Drawing connections and making comparisons between the study's findings and other theories and studies mentioned in the literature review can strengthen the validity and reliability of the study's interpretations and conclusions. It is also important to acknowledge the study's implications and limitations. Now, take a look at the checklist for reporting the study's results, conclusions, and implications.